Sports Professor Rick Horrow inside the $1.3 trillion business of sports, and you are on the record. A unique podcast, at least I hope so, that talks about the past 50 years, COVID, and the next 50 years of the sports business, where it's been, what the challenges were, and where it's going. And it started really 50 years ago. This is the first Miami Dolphin ticket ever for the old Miami Dolphins over 50 years ago. Less than $5 for this ticket. Average NFL revenues, less than $4 million at the time. If you're a baseball player, you're going to make about $26,000 at that time. And then George Steinbrenner sets the stage by buying the New York Yankees 50 years ago, $10 million. About 50 years after that, the industry was worth $1.3 trillion a year. Highly visible, highly controversial, and an industry worth watching. But yet, on March 11, 2020, the whole thing changes. Rudy Gobert tests positive for COVID, playing for the Jazz in Oklahoma City. Tire industry shuts down, losing $12 billion a week. How are you ever going to come back? Resilience, it did come back. And the roaring 20s in the 1900s, Yankee Stadium and otherwise, Spanish flu recovery gave way to a bigger and wider ranging scale of recovery from COVID 100 years later. And look, the Yankees, obviously, $10 billion. Imagine Steinbrenner for $10 million. Steve Ross turns down an offer to buy the Miami Dolphins for $10 billion. Television revenues of the NFL, cumulative contracts, nearly $200 billion. NIL, nobody even knew what that was, now over $3 billion a year. And when you think about all of the numbers, it's a success after COVID because of three factors. One, survival of the fittest, uniqueness. Second of all, creativity in the context of taking the next step and standing out. And third, collaboration, cooperation, best practices. You put all of them together and you look at the next 50 years. Big challenges, Web 3.0, globalization. We're scared of AI. What are we going to do with it? NIL. Get the toothpaste back in the tube, for the metaphor. What about conference realignment? What about the franchise free agency, team free agency, player free agency, stadium development? All of that stuff, we need some defining and guiding moments. Well, luckily, this podcast can give you some of that perspective with some unparalleled cooperation with the Falk Institute of Sports at Syracuse University and the UNLV Global Sports Innovation Institute as well, along with the partnership that they had sponsoring the SEICon Development Conference with USA Today. Came back from the conference, had some interesting perspective. The content is great, but the podcast will hopefully take some of the issues that have been raised by these partners and take them to the next level with some interviews that I hope you're going to like. And the bottom line is, hopefully you'll have a good time and you may even learn something in the process. So sit, don't go anywhere. Every week we will theme it around major events and a mega interview. And hopefully you'll be entertained and you might even learn something. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, and you're on the record.
Horrow Sports Ventures is proud to partner with Circle, USA Today Sports, and SEICon, the Sports Entertainment Innovation Conference. Circle is an omni-channel guest experience agency redefining engagement by creating seamless, integrated experiences across digital, social, and physical platforms, ensuring unforgettable moments for every audience. USA Today Sports, our go-to source for comprehensive sports news and analysis, keeps us informed and engaged with the latest developments in the sports world. SEICon has set new standards in the industry, bringing together leaders and innovators for a groundbreaking conference. We're thrilled to be teaming up with SEICon for future events that will continue to push boundaries and deliver exceptional experiences. To learn more about our partners and their innovative work, visit wearecircle.com and usatoday.com. Thank you, Circle, USA Today Sports, and SEICon for their partnership and support. Now, back to the show.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow, and you continue to be on the record. An amazing week. I'm across the pond in Dublin, heading to the Olympics. We'll have a lot of Olympic coverage today and beyond that. But for today, let's look at, as we do every week, the 5 opening drive issues. What's happened in the last week that has some profound effect on sports. Number one, SEICon 2024, collaboration in Vegas, Virgin Hotel, Sports, Entertainment, Innovation Conference that really began a tremendous brand. 20% directors or general managers of the 600 people in attendance, 17% C-level executives, 21% being attendee presidents or founders. The bottom line is, of those 45 to 50 panels, the 600 attendees, 200 experts in their industries talking about life and talking about the business. The collaboration between the Syracuse Falk College of Sport and the Sports Innovation Institute of UNLV. USA Today puts the sponsoring cap on it. A big week of sports for Vegas, the NBA Summer League, other classroom attempts. Nothing like this, though. However, SEICon 2024 demonstrates a pivotal role in bringing together minds to shape the trajectory of sports and entertainment industry for years to come. It will be clearly the first of many. More on this and these in the not-too-distant future. So that's number one. Number two, Beckham Jr. talks about a big victory. Let's talk about that, but actually, he wins in a sense with his suit from Nike and his endorsement trial, but he gets zero. He sued Nike in 2022, alleging the company had refused to pay what he described as a contractually owed compensation and guaranteed royalty deal from endorsements. The value and length of the deal hinged on different benchmarks, but could have run as long as 8 years and more than $400 million. Nike countersued Beckham after months of his lawsuit, alleging that he customized his apparel and footwear in ways that breached contractual duties. As Nike saw it, Beckham committed a $1.15 million footwear violation, according to the complaint, and another $862,000 glove violation. The end of the day, the jury basically said, well, you won, but guess what you get? Zero. He said, stand up for what you believe in, but this is one of those deals where you may win, but you may also lose. Both sides can appeal. Number three, St. Pete approves the $1.3 billion raised stadium, ending relocation rumors. The mixed-use development that's part of that, the ballpark calls for the club to pay about $700 million. The city public sector, though, about $600 million. And more meaningfully, the stadium finally yields basically 8 years of relocation threats from the Rays and their current owner. The matter now goes to the county commission. They got to approve $312.5 million in tourist tax dollars. They talk about the size of the market. Owner Stuart Sternberg says this is a seminal deal in the history of the franchise, but let's talk about the county having to approve it as well. Spotlight shifts on the only, if this is done, non-finished deal. That's the A's to Vegas, although they're pretty much wrapping it up. Now the scene may shift to expansion. We'll just have to see. That's number three. Number four, the WNBA approves or appears set to extend to 44 games next year, maybe even longer. The 44 is the maximum that can be done under the current collective bargaining agreement. But listen, with billions coming in with revenue starting in 2026, the league is sure to want to give its rights partners more inventory than what they're doing today. The bottom line of it is there are 34 games each team during the 2023 through 2019 seasons. Then the league played in the 20 wobble, the bubble because of COVID, 32 games in 2021. League had a record of 36 games in 2022 and instituted its current 40-game format in 2023. Look, more to come. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, on and on and on. Finally, the opening drive for this week focuses on Netflix. The latest earnings report show the extent to which it's maintaining its industry dominance. Sports into the center of that dominance. The company reported an updated subscriber total, $277 million for the second quarter, by far the largest base in the industry. The figure is up 3% from $269 million in the prior quarter and up 16% from $238.4 million a year ago. Netflix additionally raised the low end of its full-year guidance, and it expects 2024 revenue to grow by 14 or 15%. WWE, major deal. Racing, major deal. NASCAR, golf, all of those other deals adding up to significant revenues as we go forward. Well, that's your 5 opening drive to watch, but let's talk about what just happened at SEICon, and we talked about that as number 1. But our special guest this week talks about UNLV and his history and their history. Jay Vickers, the head of the UNLV Sports Innovation Institute. He's the CEO of that organization for UNLV, provides strategic direction and a leadership position. Vickers graduated from Notre Dame with a bachelor's degree in business administration, member of the Fighting Irish football team from 1996 to 2000. Before he was in his current role, Vickers held significant positions in university higher education and athletics, Northern Illinois, University of Wisconsin, University of Arizona. Founding member of Game Changers United, serves on the U.S. Soccer Federation Board for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. He also heads the Las Vegas Super Bowl host committee internship program partnership with UNLV. His direction of SEICon, along with David Falk and Sean Garrity, have been singular in putting a tremendous conference together, and more to come. Here's Jay Vickers. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, and an esteemed guest. Before we even start, we had a couple already. We're not supposed to do it, but clink your glass. Jay Vickers, he is the UNLV Sports Innovation Institute Chief Operating Officer. Most important, the brain trust, everything important, the idea guy behind SEICon, the Sports Innovation Conference. How do you feel the day before your baby's being birthed?
You know what? Other than being married, having kids, this is one of the achievements that I've been waiting for a long time.
Well, and frankly, it's cat herding in the extreme. But when you think about what this conference will do and is doing, 45 panels, 200 speakers, and we all have spoken at conferences before.
Yes.
We know the pretenders. This isn't a pretender. When you first germinated the idea and thought about it, go through the day when you're saying, hey, man, let's do something like this. How did it start?
Well, I can tell you this. I don't know how much time we have, but it's an incredible story.
Yeah.
So May 28th of 2021, I had a meeting with Lawrence Epstein, Senior Vice President, Chief Operating Officer for Ultimate Fighting Championship, acronym UFC.
Yeah.
World-renowned global sports and entertainment company. They've done such a great job. And I went into Lawrence's office, we actually spoke on Zoom. And I presented to him a sports research summit that we wanted to do to highlight our faculty, our students, but also bring in some community partners that's involved in sports-related research and innovation. And also was asking for money, like most people do when you go to some of these corporations representing an institution. And what amazed me with him that day, which is why I know the exact date and I know everything that happened, he said, Jay, how about you think bigger? Think beyond just this summit. How do you feel about you, higher institution, UNLV, if you can build something that becomes omni-channel, where you can focus on more than just one topic, you can include several different people from all backgrounds related to sports, entertainment, and innovation, but also in the mix of it, highlight the intellectual capital that we're producing here in Las Vegas. You think that's something you can do? I was like, yeah. Will you support it if I do it? He said, yes. If you notice here at SEICon, we have the big UFC letters here. Yeah. Those don't travel.
Right.
And so we went on and we talked to other folks in our community. They got really excited about it. But one introduced me to Sean Garrity of Circle. and the Syracuse folks. And I can tell you this, when you talk about public-private partnerships, there's nothing better than seeing two institutions from two different coasts coming together and saying, let's do what's right for the industry. And then this industry is sports and entertainment, rapid innovation. And we had the opportunity to do it. And not only did we take that opportunity by the horns and run with it, we're playing in a football game against each other, friendly competition, go Rebels, as well as we have the opportunity to bring together some of the greatest minds within our law school, our journalism school, and data analytics to work together from both institutions as well as our students.
That's an incredibly entrepreneurial perspective. If I'm sitting there as a money guy and I hear your lofty ambition articulately presented, I'd say, man, that's great. Send you away politely and say, this guy can't do it. We ain't going to do it.
Yep.
The vision from your point of view to the implementation, it's hard to do, especially with COVID in the middle of it, right?
Yes, it was very hard to do. And I actually got people looking at me internally, externally, saying, it sounds good, but can you do it? It's lofty.
Yeah.
No one has done it before because it doesn't make sense. Well, if it doesn't make sense, we're talking about one of the greatest industries in the world, sports, entertainment, and innovation. Why doesn't it make sense? And I think what happened is because we were talking about all the different topics you can learn here at SEICon, from NIL to fashion to music and everything in between, I think people didn't realize it's a conference like any other where you're educated, you have the opportunity to collaborate, and hopefully through that you have some deal making.
We talked about it before, and we'll talk about the deal making piece and why this is so unique. But I've been to a lot of academic institutions, and it's always 138 steps up and 137 back, and you hope you're going forward a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And then that's even internally. But to take two divergent academic institutions 3,000 miles away from each other, whatever the number is, you're Notre Dame football, Wisconsin, a lot Northern Illinois. I looked at your curriculum; it's outstanding. What made you think that Syracuse and UNLV, had there been any cultural history together, or was this enterprise what really brought you guys together?
You know what? We go back to intellectual capital.
Yeah.
And when you think about the great folks at Syracuse saying, you know what, let's do something different. Don't be afraid to let something be what it can be.
Yeah.
And I think that's to have like-minded folks that said, let's do this together. First started with Sean Garrity, Syracuse alum, saying, I really love this. How can we take this to the next step?
Sean is unbelievable, right?
Exactly. And that's what he did. And he said, Jay, are you okay with us working together? Being partners. Not only did we become partners, we became brothers.
Yeah.
How can we work together to bring our two institutions together? Let them see something everybody says, you can't make that work. And so to be here at July 15th of 2024 and opening doors to SEICon is a dream come true.
So you played for the Notre Dame football team from 95, 96 to 2000?
96 to 2000.
What was harder, playing successful football or organizing this conference?
You know what? I think I don't want to compare what's harder. What I want to say is when you go to these great institutions, if they're doing their job correctly, they're not just teaching you how to make an A in a class. They teach you how to be prepared for success. And I would tell you through the great leadership that I've been a part of, people say, oh, you're lucky that happened. You were able to get this sponsorship and that person. But I just go back to what Coach Hope said. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And luckily for me, that also transcended what our friends at Syracuse. And they were very opportunistic and wanted to be a part of something special. And that's why we're here.
And it's holistic and the growth is amazing. And when you take a look at the cooperation between the two schools, there doesn't seem to be any territorial infighting at all.
You know what? There's no territorial infighting, but come October 14th, 2024 at Allegiant Stadium, there'll be a little bit of infighting between the Rebels and the Orange. And that's all there needs to be. Friendly competition with the Rebels winning. And we just have a good time.
Oh, you snuck that in there. I heard the point spread now is about 28. Is that correct? Maybe 28
You know what? I've learned through my channels not to worry about point spreads. I just worry about a win.
He's learned through the channels now. If you had played basketball at Syracuse, That'd be a hell of a match. I'm not sure the Running Rebels are ready to hold a football team.
You know what?
That's not our issue here.
You know, we had the best season we've had in over 30 years. We have a great coach, Barry Odom, and I say, wow, heck, I love you. But Eric Harper's one of the best athletic directors in the country.
Wow. Walhack, you listening, man? I'm going to tell you, Walhack is going to defend himself at some point. Future of SEICon, legacy, franchise, talk about it.
You know, the future is bright. I think we have proven with the registration where it's at today and the excitement around SEICon that definitely we'll have another SEICon every year here in Las Vegas. But also what we're seeing is people are, how do you bring SEICon to our city? And so there's plans for vertical events in places like New York where we're focused on advertising and media. There's places like DC where policy, public-private partnerships, and we can show what that looks like, as well as opportunities in London, Saudi Arabia, UAE, as well as working in Atlanta with the emphasis in how we look at historically Black colleges and universities.
How about this thesis? And you think a lot about how it's a perfect storm relative to timing. We know NIL is an issue, but we don't quite know how to put it back in the box. We know that AI is an issue, and everybody's either scared about it or running away from it.
Yes.
We understand that there are a lot of issues relative to globalization and Web 3.0 and all of the things that years ago we didn't even know about, and now a lot of people are trying to deal with it. The SEICon brain power, the franchising, the deal making, the innovation aspect of this can really be an incredible, important component of the industry, not just getting people together, but what comes out of these.
Yes. And that's part of our vision, is to be able to talk about subjects that's relevant to today. You know, sometimes you go to a conference and they may have already solved that, but you're still talking about it. We want to be able to transcend those topics and talk about what's important about today. Going back to, that's how you win. You know, what's important now, WIN. And you want to be able to have that conversation. And I think through SEICon, we can talk about the what's important now topics versus things that may have happened in the past.
Here's what I have to say to you, Jay Vickers, CEO of UNLV Sports Innovation Institute. This organization, this plan, this institution is lucky as hell to have you. Many
Thank
more,
you.
man. Sure enough. More. We need more.
We need more.
Rick Horrow, sports professor. Speak with you soon. Jay Vickers provides some really interesting perspective, don't you think? Not only because of his UNLV Sports Innovation Institute leadership, but also all of the stuff with SEICon. You're going to be hearing a lot more, as I said, about them and him in the coming months. So let's talk about the 5 to watch. What's going on next week, the weeks after, and beyond? Look at the 5 big issues coming up. Well, including the Olympics. We'll talk about that as well. But the most important issue right now are some of the things that have happened as they relate to the next few months. For example, how about the situation with younger Major League Baseball players as they move forward? For example, Paul Skeens pitches the first inning for the National League, the All-Star Game. And the All-Star Game itself featured 37 first-time selections and 19 players age 26 or younger. Saw the Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran win the MVP with his game-winning homer. And here is the issue. The game broadcast with an average of 7.44 million viewers across Fox platforms, marking a 6% increase from last year. So it's not going down. The trends are there. But take a look at what's going on. The brands that engage initiatives such as the Draft Combine, Draft League, HBCU Swingman Classic, and moving the MLB Draft to All-Star Week, all designed to introduce promising young players to the game and getting the public benefits from it as they move forward. Certainly, the focus on youth and innovation aligns with the league's broader goals to enhance its marketability and ensure the sport's growth in coming years. That's number 1. Number 2, New Jersey Arena. Take a look at the Sixers. Well, they all want to go to Philly. Harris Sports, Blitzer Sports, and Entertainment have talked about a top priority, maybe being next to the Comcast Center. There's a long history there in Philly. But New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy and the Sixers team ownership has had a long-standing relationship. especially Josh Harris. The state has available land in the Camden area, including along the waterfront. Willingness to pay for the entirety of the project in Philadelphia, say the owners. But the bottom line is the idea of leverage, always important when new arenas are on the line. The Aspire program, which is a New Jersey attempt to generate some capital, it may be a $400 million donation, and always maintaining a desire in Philly, but yet always maintaining a desire to capture some of that $400 million. That's number two. Number three, the stadium ideas, especially coming to the Olympics, of hospitality, is carrying the day. Tickets coming out, all of the hospitality services generating their tickets, sending them to the fans. Now the logistics challenges seem to be there, but the bottom line is companies like On Location continue to move forward. The 2026 World Cup expected to help FIFA generate $11 billion during the financial cycle of those 4 years, the World Cup, but they're also the premier service On Location, the Olympic and Paralympic Games, Super Bowl, Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, National Collegiate Athletic Association, Ryder Cup, Olympics, and others. On Location plans to create the biggest ever FIFA World Cup hospitality program, tournament expanding from 32 to 48. Hospitality packages are due to hit the market later this year. And remember the Olympics as well. Yeah, we'll be there. We're covering it. That's number three. Number four, Google signs its first of its type Team USA sponsorship. The deal makes Google the official search AI partner for Team USA, and is part of an agreement that'll integrate Google's tools and consumer products to enhance NBC Universal's coverage. And in Paris, financial terms not disclosed, but the properties, the joint venture between LA28 and the USOPC, like no others, Google specifically for Paris as well. 2020, the Olympics, for example, signed Eli Lilly through a short-term deal through the Tokyo Games, later pushed back a year because of COVID. Lilly later signed on as LA 2028. The LA 2028 continuing to sign and deal with sponsorships against his $2.5 billion target, and Google's agreement could indicate its interest in completing the tech or AI-related companies with Google's deal for these games, help to tell the athlete stories in Paris by integrating sponsorship content into NBC Universal's coverage. Bottom line is, Google has been a tremendous partner. We're very important in speaking at the SEICon conference, and let's look at AI, maybe with Google being involved in all of that. We'll have to see. And finally, number five, sports technology market, always important as a look ahead. The forecast, $7.67 billion milestone with a robust annual year-over-year growth. $16.54 billion in 2023. The overall global sports technology market expected to grow to US $87.67 billion market by 2032. Reasons: AI, expansion of emerging markets, globalization, sports technology adaptations, and the key market participants in the sports technology market focusing on increasing revenue by investing in stats, operations, and marketing, as the market is expected to increase in the future years. The growing number of sports associations around the world driving the demand for new technology and infrastructure development, creating a new potential for market growth over the forecast period. Look at all of those factors. This is a big time, not only in these couple of weeks ahead based on those five to watch. Next week at the Olympics. Excited for the international business as well. I'd like to thank Jay Vickers for giving us his tremendous perspective on all of this. I'd like to thank all that have put this together, the fallout from the SEICon Sports Entertainment Innovation Conference, bigger than you could possibly imagine from Vegas. We'd like to thank you all for listening and watching. Join us once again next week from Paris when we continue to go on the record. I'd like to thank you again, Sports Professor Rick Horrow. Speak with you soon.